Welcome everyone. Welcome. It is so good to be back. We are continuing. I'm Dolores. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Dolores, and you've reached my channel. Let me remove these because we're getting ready to read. You've reached Read With Me, where we have been reading and indulging in the very powerful book Unstoppable. It has been truly a blessing for all of us, me especially. What I want to do is I want to just invite you to like, follow, subscribe, and share. If this channel has come across your liking and you've decided to listen, come along and read with us. We have almost finished this very powerful book, Unstoppable. I just want to briefly go over some of the things that we've learned and some of the really unique and high points that Dr. Cindy Trim has given us throughout the book. First of all, we've talked about identity, our true identity. We talked about core values. We talked about integrity, transparency. She's given us so much to think about and to get straight within ourselves, and we're okay. We're okay. I just want to just turn just briefly backwards just a little bit and just begin reading, just read a little bit of some of the key points that she has pointed out to us. One of them was the only true competition you have is with yourself. Oh my goodness. We found out we don't need to compete with anybody else. God made all of us very uniquely different, right? And powerful, I might add. Let's look at one more on page 62. On page 62, on the side note, she says, become the leading actor in the unfolding story of your own life. Wow. How powerful is that? Now let's go in a little deep, a little closer to where we are now. We're almost finished with this book. This is session 13. I believe we might have one more session left. However, let's look at a side note on page 170, which says, every person has the capacity to empower others and be a great leader. Wow. We are going to jump right in and we're going to just continue reading where we left off on the first paragraph of page 174. Again, I just want to welcome you who've come to read with me and also welcome you all that has come just to listen, because these are some very powerful points to propel you forward into fulfilling your destiny and your purpose, your God-given purpose. And we're just truly excited that we're here today to continue. So let's jump right in. Page 174. Then Mr. and Mrs. Benjamin came along. The Benjamins served our community in tangible and intangible ways. They began by meeting my family's physical needs. Their generosity, even if it was just like making sure we had water, was significant, she says. Wait, hold on just a second. Just a second, I'm sorry. Okay. But it was their example of servant leadership that made an indeletable impact on me. They were the catalyst that motivated our community to act for the good for all and to all. They challenged us all to be better citizens by their own example of recognizing needs and reaching out to help those who had them. The Benjamin service to our family lifted the oppressive lid off of our off of my social, spiritual, and academic and financial beliefs. Because of them, I no longer felt alone or disempowered. I understood my own inherited potential to lead through sacrifice and service. As a servant leader, empowered by hope, I was able to see greater possibilities for my future. You noticed here where she said the Benjamins opened that up for her. Truly a blessing. Where in the book, she also teaches us how to open things up for others and not be in it just for ourselves, which is awesome. Let's continue. I'm sure this couple had no idea how powerful their example was to me or my siblings. They had no way of knowing that when they were serving our community, and in particular my family, she says, with their generosity, acts of kindness, and words of encouragement, that one small girl in the Trim family, little Cindy, would one day honor their memory in front of thousands of people across the globe. However, the Benjamins didn't serve others to gain recognition. They served because they knew they could make a difference in our community. One family, one little girl at a time. As you've seen, anyone can be a leader and have influence in other people's lives. And when you focus your efforts on serving rather than on receiving, she says, you can accomplish great feats on behalf of your family, workplace, and community. You can turn things around, not just for yourself, like she's teaching us, but for an entire world through your service. If even to just a few, that's what being a servant leader is all about. So we're going to just continue here. We're going to continue reading. However, yeah. I can see. Wait, hold on 1 second. 1 second. I believe my book I had my page in the wrong space, but I'm going to go ahead on and just continue here where I am now. Hold on 1 second. You guys give me a minute. Give me a minute. Okay. So we're going to go ahead on and continue on page 175. I believe I read it before because I think when I dropped my book, I kind of lost my place just a little bit, but it's okay because it's so good. It's so good. I'm quite sure repeating a page or two will not hurt us. Okay. So let's continue right on page 175. What is a servant leader? What is servant leadership? At first glance, the words servant and leader seem to contradict each other. Conventional wisdom suggests that servants wait on those in command and respond to their desires. Leaders, on the other hand, are those waited upon who use their power and authority to make commands about what they desire. Truly great leaders, she says, however, combine their power and authority with a purpose to serve. Servant leaders pursue the good of those they serve above their own. Very key, right? Servant leaders pursue the good of those they serve above their own. That was worth repeating. Okay, Ken Keefe, the CEO of Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership, explains it this way. Servant leaders focus on identifying and meeting the needs of others rather than trying to acquire power, wealth, and fame for themselves. Wow, that's good. Becoming a servant leader does not depend on power or position, but it can be found wherever a person's influence is used to care for others. Servant leadership isn't a step by step approach to leading. It isn't a tactic or a system, she says, like authenticity or transparency, impeccability, and many of other concepts I presented in this book, Unstoppable. Now, she says, compete with yourself and win. Service is not simply a way of leading, it is a way of being. The characteristics of a servant leader cannot, or at least should not, she says, be turned on and off to suit the individual. They should be lived day by day. So she says they should be lived day in and day out. Okay, so she lists here some characteristics of a servant leader, which is listening. Servant leaders listen to understand other needs and desires. Empathy. Servant leaders strive to understand how other people think and feel. Healing. Servant leaders work with those they lead to create wholeness, which is healing. Okay. Awareness, which is number 4. Servant leaders are perceptive of others' circumstances and needs. They also are self-aware, cognizant of how they come across even to others. Persuasion, rather than use authority or power to push their agenda, servant leaders work to build consensus. Conceptualization. Servant leaders aim to look at situations from various perspectives, she says. They dream and consider long range possibilities without losing sight of their organization or community's immediate needs. Foresight, number 7. Servant leaders learn from the past and the present to plan for the future. It's good. Stewardship. Servant leaders are responsible for preparing their organization to make a contribution for the greater good. Commitment to the growth, which is number 9, committed to the growth of people. Servant leaders are continually focused on helping their people develop personally and professionally. Wow. And last but not least, number 10, community building. Servant leaders work to foster a sense of community and support among the members of the organization. Wow. She has listed here a brief history of servant leadership. And we're going to get right into that right now. Okay. A brief history. Robert Greenleaf, the father of servant leadership, wasn't the type of person you would expect to change the world. Laid back and unassuming, with a weird sense of humor, he listened more than he spoke. He spent his career in management research at AT&T and later as a respected university lecturer. In 1970, His short essay, The Servant at Leader, introduced the world to the term servant leadership. This simple idea transformed conventional thinking about leadership. Decades later, the servant model continues to inspire the new generations of leaders. Greenleaf believed that leaders at any level of an organization had an obligation, he says, to nurture their followers and the communities, page 177, they serve in his view. Servanthood is the driving motivation for leadership itself. The servant leader is servant first. That's good. It begins with the natural feeling, like to help others, right? That one wants to serve first, she says. He explained in Greenleaf's book, For Servant Leadership, the continuous choice to serve first takes priority over other power-driven and material desires. Wow. The difference manifests itself in the care taken by the servant first to make sure that other people's highest priorities, needs are being served. He wrote in his best-selling book, Servant Leadership, a journey into the nature of legitimate power and greatness. Why serve when you can lead? Servant leadership is a long-term approach to life and work. It's philosophy with the aim to create positive change throughout a group, a community, she says, or organization. It requires a commitment to ... Okay? Now, she lists here just a few. Lead by example, not just by words, but by example. Lead sacrificially, by putting the needs of others before your own. Choose mercy over justice whenever possible. Build and promote others rather than promoting yourself. Honestly, when you consider these requirements, several leaderships Honestly, when you consider these requirements, servant leadership looks like a lot of work, right? You may even ask, why bother being a servant leader? Why not just be a leader and solve all the problems? That's a little selfish, but anyway, let's continue. Those aren't bad questions, she says. However, after all, a leader could have a family's or a community's best interests at heart. With pure motives and the best intentions, he or she believes it is for the good of all to forcefully converse others to achieve goals as well, that the ends will justify the means. That's certainly one way to operate. In fact, we're all seen, she says, we've seen that tactic. Let's continue. Page 179. Taken repeatedly in politics, in nonprofit organizations, in corporations, and even in families. But there are a few major problems with that approach, okay? She says, people are not inspired to make a heart change, even if their behavior is required to change. Most people, recent changes that are forced upon them. Most people resent changes that are forced upon them. We know that to be true. That resentment may even cause followers to sabotage a leader's well-intended program. Wow. People become dependent when leaders don't allow them to participate in decision making. To an authorization leader that may sound ideal, the trouble comes when people advocate responsibility for their actions, results, or well being. Leadership then becomes a burden of responding to constant emergencies rather than helping people achieve their potential to solve problems. I get it. Self protection is the result of a bulldozer type of leadership style, discouraging collaborative problem solving rather than concerning themselves with the well being or success of the community, followers of the community. She says, followers focus more on their own need for survival. Servant leadership encourages people to grow, think, plan, and become engaged. As part of the solution, and as was the case with the Benjamins and their impact on our community, she says servant leadership is the catalyst, right? It releases the community's potential by developing servants at every level. As Greenleaf explains, all that is needed to rebuild community is for enough servant leaders to show the way, not by mass movements, but by each servant leader demonstrating his own unlimited liability for a quiet Pacific community related group. Why serve when you can simply lead? Because service empowers you, she says, and everyone you lead to bring about more significant and lasting change. Page number 179. Then she says, a lasting change than any amount of pressure or forced action ever could. How can you be an effective servant leader? Okay, so we read through that part. So we're going to continue and we're going to jump right forward to page 184, where I believe, no, not 184, 188, where we left off at. And let's get here quick. Oh, wait, that's not page 188. Okay. Okay, hold on. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, we're gonna jump right here to page 189, where it says, let's read at the bottom. Sometimes people misunderstand which we're talking about legacy. Okay. Sometimes people misunderstand legacy and think it's a prideful desire to leave a mark on society. But when you define legacy, as I do, the desire to use your unique gifts to fulfill your purpose for the betterment of others, there's nothing selfish about it. In fact, it can be the greatest and most humble gift you can offer. So now she says, what does it take to leave a legacy? Because that's where we really left off about leaving a legacy. But for some reason, I turned to the page 170. So I just read that over, which was fine. But we continue here on page 189, which she's stating here, what does it take to leave a legacy? Live today the way you want to be remembered tomorrow. Dylan Barrows. Dorby, at the age of 99, continued to make his way each day from his village into the city of Sofia. There in his traditional handmade folk attire and worn leather shoes, he begged for money. Page 190. Darby, as he was affectionately called by locals, was well known in the community. People there respected his gentle voice and were perhaps a bit amused by his brushy white beard and habit of kissing the hands of those who shared their money. He was recognized certainly because he spent so much time holding out his money box on the city streets. Wow. But he was known because he gave away all the money he collected. Wow. Can you imagine that? Someone standing to collect money and then gave it out. Wow. Since 2000, Dolbury collected coin by coin, enough to give away more than $50,000. The money has helped to rebuild churches and monasteries, to pay utility bills for orphanages, and to assist a myriad of others in need. When church officials at the St. Alexander Cathedral in Sofia checked the donation ledger, they were shocked to learn that the largest contributor was a poor old man. Wow, that is powerful. Darby, who survived on his government pension, about $100 a month, and gifts of food from strangers, made quite an impression, where he's been dubbed a saint. His humble spirit, his eagerness to share, his faith, and his generosity both surprised and challenged members of his community to do and be more themselves. Wow. He was not famous, nor did he want to be, but his legacy will be remembered long after his death. Wow, this is powerful. Darby understood what was missed by so many people. The material goods passed on to the next generation mattered little compared to the example you set for them while you're alive. Grandpa Darby died at the age of 103. Wow. Following the funeral services for the 12 men and women who were killed in the Washington Navy Yard shooting in September of 2013, Irenia Huffington wrote a poignant post titled, "Are You Living Your Eulogy or Your Resume?" Wow. Excuse me. In it, she noted that the eulogies, the documentation of the victims' lives, didn't highlight their work accomplishments or their dedication to the office. Rather, the words spoken to honor these individuals shared who they were as husbands and wives, fathers, mothers, sons and daughters, and friends. Page 191. No matter how much a person spends his or her life burning the candle at both ends, she says, chasing a toxic definition of success and generally missing out on life, the eulogy is always about the other stuff. What they gave, how they connected, how much they meant to the lives of the real people around them. Small kindness, small acts of kindness, lifelong passions, and what made them laugh. Huffington wrote, so the question is, why do we spend so much time on what our eulogy is not going to be? Wow. Why, indeed, for most of my life, I thought if I did more and if I got more, it would really make a difference in my status and my feelings of significance. I thought what I learned and experienced would give me the ultimate understanding of who I am as an individual. She says, and so I spent the first part of my life not having a clear sense of what was genuine for me. Wow. True to my own deepest desires, values, and identity. I let others people's expectations determine my goals. What looked like success or achievement or even enough, the others were not satisfying me because what defined those things for me didn't match other people's definition. I wanted more than a position or a title. I wanted more than a high ranking political office. I wanted to know I was changing lives. I wanted to leave a wake of empowered individuals, communities, even regions with the insights I known had changed my life. Those insights, she said, dictated that I be the change I wanted to see. I learned that what made the most impact was more about who I was and the people I connected with than any singular accomplishment. My work and gift to the world is being the best me I can be, competing with no one but myself and demonstrating the power of living and leading authentically in the process. Because the more authentic I am in every encounter, whether speaking, coaching, advising, or simply connecting with the individuals I meet around the world, the more empowerment that on that results, she says, on all levels. I'm going to read this little side note again. Success isn't about what we do, it's about who we are and who we influence. Page 192. Success isn't about what we do, it's about who we are and who we influence. To do more, I simply have to be more and more true to who I am and why I am and why I'm here. Okay. When whatever shape and form that takes, that's what it means to compete with yourself and win. And that's what is required to leave a legacy that empowers others to win. How will you shape your legacy? If creating a legacy is based on being rather than on doing, how can you intentionally shape your legacy? You do it by, you ready? Knowing who you are, living with integrity, being authentic and transparent, positively influencing people by adding value to their lives, leading others and yourself with excellence, serving others unselfishly, fulfilling your purpose by maximizing your unique gifts, strengths, and abilities. Most importantly, remember that your legacy and your life now are best crafted when you commit to living out of those. Wait, let me go back. She says, and your life now are, well, let me start again. Most importantly, remember what your legacy and your life now are best crafted when you commit to living out each of those concepts every day with every person you encounter. I challenge you to be intentional in your life and in defining your legacy. Identify your purpose and then devote your life to achieving it. The world would be better for it. Identify your purpose. We're still on page 192, right at the end, but let's listen closely here. Identifying your purpose. The purpose of life is not to be happy, it is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. Wow. Ralph Waldo Emerson. One of our greatest missions is to make a difference in the world. How we do that varies from person to person, page 193, based on our skills, talents, and abilities. Not all of us paint or sing or speak publicly or write books or manage corporations or raise children. We all have different methods of going about fulfilling our mission to make a difference. Wow, this is good. Each one of us has a why, a reason that drives our thoughts and actions. That's why is your mission. That's your purpose. My desire is to leave a legacy of hope, meaning, and dignity for the next generation, she says. I'm building that legacy now through my mission of empowering people to discover purpose and maximize potential. You'll notice that my mission isn't about money or notoriety. It is about others because I believe that service to others is the only real way, she says, to create a life of significance. One whose impact endures beyond ourselves. Wow. To intentionally design your legacy, you must first identify your life's mission, your purpose, your reason for being. Nothing exists without purpose. Some believe purpose is determined by a higher power. I believe that higher power, she says, is God. Yet, although God determines purpose, it must be discovered by you. I've always been inspired by a story Winston Churchill tells of his youth. He describes how, when he was 16, he and a friend were discussing their futures after chapel one Sunday evening. Churchill professed to his friend that he had a clear vision of his purpose. As recorded in several biographies, he stated, this country will be subjected somehow to a tremendous invasion by what means I do not know, but I tell you, I shall be in command of the defense of London, and I shall save London and England from this disaster. In the high position I shall occupy, it will fall to me to save the capital and save the empire. He not only sensed the gravitas of his purpose, but more extraordinarily, he could articulate it with precision. How about you? Do you know why you are here? Do you know your reason for being? So many people struggle, wow, page 194, with the knowing their purpose. If you're among those who are still searching, here are a few questions that might help you nail it down. Drink just a sip of water, and let's begin with this list she gives us. Okay, page 194. Wow. Okay. Number one, she says, what are you passionate about? This is what she's given us here is a list for us to help us identify why we are here, what our purpose is for being on the earth. Okay. Number one, what are you passionate about? Number two, what is the one thing that you do best? Number three, if you could only do one thing, what would that be? Number four, what makes you feel truly fulfilled? Your purpose and your passion are totally connected. When you can identify what thrills you, she says, what gets you up in the morning or keeps you up late at night, what you would do even if you never earned a dime for it, then you've found your purpose and passion. Take a few moments, she says, now to think about your purpose. Answer the questions above using what you discover about yourself. Draft your mission statement. So I'm going to repeat those four one more time because she's challenging us here to answer four questions regarding why, our why, to help us identify our purpose. Those four questions are, I'm going to repeat them. Number one, what are you passionate about? Two, what is the one thing that you do best? Number three, if you could only do one thing, what would that be? And number four, what makes you feel truly fulfilled? Okay, let's keep going. Take a stand. Although having a clear sense of purpose is empowering, it is also poses a challenge. It takes courage to say no to opportunities that are not on purpose, or to distinguish which will put you on the main road to fulfilling your purpose and run, which, I'm sorry, and which only run parallel, meaning which would run to your purpose and which one would run parallel to your purpose. Okay. And then there are the risks, obstacles, opinions of other people, and uncertainties. Wow. That will threaten to knock you off course. To thrive, to fulfill your mission, to leave a legacy that will empower, wow, others, you must choose to take a stand. Wow. You will need the critical 3 C's: courage, commitment, and confidence. If you don't feel very courageous, or if you have trouble seeing projects through to the end, or even if you just aren't sure you have what is required to complete your mission, take heart, she says. Like every other character trait we've identified in Unstoppable, compete with yourself and win. Courage, commitment, and confidence, page 195, can be developed with practice. Let's take a look at each of these 3 C's and how you can strengthen their presence in your life. Wow. Page 195. Let's get going here. Courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to feel the fear and act in spite of it. With it, you can find the strength to create stronger relationships and to embark on new and sometimes scary endeavors. Without it, life can seem pretty lonely and uninteresting. Theologian Mary Daly is quoted for her wisdom on how to push beyond your fears. Courage is a habituous, a habit, a virtue. You get it by courageous acts. It's like you learn to swim by swimming. You learn courage by encouraging, right? Courage requires practice. Maybe that's why Eleanor Roosevelt advised do one thing every day that scares you. Wow, that's good. I'm sorry, y'all. That's good. She says, do one thing every day that scares you. Okay? That's good. All right. Every time you take a stand for your purpose and your beliefs, you become a bit more emboldened. And like every other positive virtue, you display your courage rubs off on other people. In the gifts of imperfections, Mr. Browns describes the empowering effect our courage has on others. Every time we choose courage, she says, we make everyone around us a little bit better and the world a little braver. And our world could stand to be a little kinder and braver. Many of the most important contributions ever made were made by people who had the courage to act. It doesn't matter whether the world perceives your work as small or great. She says what matters is that you have the courage to act. It's okay to feel the fear. Acknowledge it, then be courageous to push right through it. I love that. Okay, commitment, the second C. Everything rises and falls on your commitment, your dedications to seeing your mission completed, right? Commitment is a word that's too often tossed around without much thought. For example, page 196, a person may say they're in a committed relationship, but they bail when times get tough and or when a more interesting proposal comes along. We hear and say the term overcommitted in respect to busy schedules as an excuse to bow out of commitments. Wow. So, how do we prevent the word commitment from being lip service? One way is to define the term and to desire outcome. In terms of your life's purpose and the legacy you will leave, consider, she says, the following questions. To what exactly are you committing to? To what or whom are you dedicating your life? What are the desired results for you? What are the desired results for others? Let me repeat that. To what exactly are you committing? To what or whom are you dedicating your life? What are the desired results for you? Lastly, what are the desired results for others? Know exactly what you're getting into before you commit. This is your purpose and your legacy. So you have the power and the freedom to define the terms. However, once you make the commitment, determine to live with integrity, keep your promise to fulfill your purpose. The last C, she says, is confidence. Sometimes confidence is perceived as arrogance, but remember your legacy and thus your purpose is not about a selfish or prideful existence. If your true and pure aim is to serve others, then you must realize there is nothing helpful about living small so people feel better about themselves, she says. In fact, you are doing the people around you a great disservice if you offer up anything less than your very best self. Mm. She says, compete with your best self and win. Wow. You may be familiar with these powerful quotes from Marianne Williamson's best-selling book, A Return to Love. Williamson's so expertly captures the real crux of confidence. It isn't about you, it's about the difference you can make with your light, she says. Wow. We're going to continue on for just these next two paragraphs on page 197, and then we'll complete this session of 13. Okay? So 197, page 197, she says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Wow. Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. Wow. We unconsciously give, you heard that, others permission to do the same. That means we should walk letting our light shine, right? Because we want to give that permission to someone else, right? As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That's good. I want to challenge you to do something great. Leave a legacy by refusing to blend in. She says, stand out and stand up. Did everybody hear the challenge? She said she wants to challenge us to do something great. I accept the challenge. Do you? Come on, let's take this challenge together. Leave a legacy by refusing to blend in. Refusing to blend in. She says, stand up and stand out. Wow. Leave your footprint, your voice print, and your thumbprint behind so that the next generation knows that you did something beyond your comfort zone. You have the power to change not only yourself, but also the world around you. Wow. We're gonna stop right here on page 197 at the winning action. Write your eulogy. We are going to accept the challenge to stand out and to stand up. How many of y'all are with me? We have truly enjoyed this book, Unstoppable, where we are right at the end, having maybe about 8 pages left. I am so delighted that you decided to join me today. And even if you just run across my page, like, follow, subscribe, and share. It has truly been an honor and a blessing today for you to even listen and be here with me on Read With Me. Until our next session, listen, subscribe, leave a comment, and on the next session, be ready for the next challenge, because I believe this will be this challenge that she's um, posing to us at the end of this book will be the last challenge. However, we can always go back into this book and continue to challenge ourselves. Guys, until next time, thank you so much and have a beautiful day. Until next time.